lately in PHP podcast. This is episode 53. I'm Manuel Lemos, and once again, Google refuses to put my lower third level at the bottom of my video. So I have to introduce myself because nobody knows me. But fortunately, I have here with me Artur Sosins from Latvia once again. Hello, Artur.
Hello. Unfortunately, I don't have to introduce myself because you introduced me.
But you don't have a lower third either.
Yeah, it's solidarity. I can put it when I want it.
Yeah, just because you can, and I can't.
Exactly.
Well, anyway, today, as usual, we are going to talk about very interesting PHP topics because the PHP scene is getting hotter and hotter. I don't know. Nobody stops PHP. Not Ruby on Rails, not Python, not anything. Maybe mobile. There was an article saying that PHP was declining because of iOS and Android and HTML5 and what?
What?
Yeah, that the person just checked some ranking of about the skills required to the developers, and it seemed PHP was dropping because all those technologies are on the rise. And well, actually, what they meant is that mobile development was on the rise, but you still have to have a server side, which often is PHP. That's why PHP is getting hotter and hotter, and we are going to start this hangout as usual, commenting on the latest PHP versions that have been released, like in the last month. We have basically let's see if I can increase this font. Well, I think it's okay now. The first versions that we comment is usually the oldest, which is 5.334, and it was followed on the same day by 5.518, and then again 5.6.2. I don't know. I'm not sure why all these versions were released in the same day, but I suspect that because there were some security issues.
And there were same security issues, probably.
Exactly. The same as CVE. Well, although there were some other bugs being fixed, at least in the older versions. But as we may see in the 5.6.2, there are only one that did not have a CVE. So, well, there's not really much.
CVE mean?
Good question. CVE means, I think it's some common vulnerability database that hosts these reports of known vulnerabilities, and they refer to the same report because they affect all these versions and probably past versions, but since they are no longer maintained, they are not mentioned here. So that's basically it. If you are using these versions, and probably older versions, you should upgrade because it's about time, and you should avoid being caught by these security problems. So this is the usual that we say about these versions. There were some other bugs being fixed, but usually they are minor, and so these just are maintenance releases. So moving on to the next topic, we are going to start talking about a lot of the plans for PHP 7. And I'm going to start with one topic that is not really yet an official proposal. I don't know if it will get there, but there was a proposal here in the PHP internals list talking about the removal of the function keyword for class methods. Some people prefer to call class functions as class methods. And I'm not sure why it is so important to drop the function keyword, but probably this is to make it consistent with the idea that was implemented in the past, that the var keyword, which became deprecated, was equivalent to have the public qualifier. So if you have public and just the name of the variable, it's the same as you have when you add the var keyword there. And so the idea here is to, if you have the function keyword removed, you just have public or private or protected there to qualify the function, and that should be sufficient. Well, it never bothered me to have the function or var there, but for consistency, some people think it is important to have it removed. So this is a proposal. I did not see an RFC for this. I don't know if there will be one.
I think the removal of function keyword would make sense in environments like O or JavaScript, where function is like a data type which is stored in a variable.
Yeah.
In this case, it's only so developers could write less. So I don't know how really useful.
Because they are very tired.
It might be very confusing in the end.
Well, I don't know. Well, this is yet another backwards incompatible change. Because if you once you remove the function keyword, your code will not work in old versions. And if you want to address old versions, I mean, develop classes to be shared with the users of old versions and new versions, the old version users will not be able to use it, because without the function keyword, it will give a syntax error. So I don't know if this is going to pass, but if it passes, it will be yet another thing that will be broken for future code, of course. So, but there are plans to make it deprecated or make it not required. I don't know. Either way, it will upset some people. So moving on, we are going to talk about yet another thing related with the deprecation in PHP 7. In fact, there is this proposal by Nikita Popov, which is to remove functionality that is already deprecated in the more recent versions. So things like the ereg and MySQL extensions would be removed, and there are several other features that probably are not very important, but they were deprecated, so they want to remove them. Well, I don't know. From all of these, I think the one that will cause the most trauma will be the removal of the MySQL extension, because there is legacy code, millions of lines of code that use that extension that will stop working if you upgrade to PHP 7, if this proposal of removing the deprecated functionality passes. I don't know. What do you think, Arthur?
It would definitely break many websites, even probably many of what I made. My first
Yeah.
database wrapper actually wrapped MySQL extension, but in the same time, I can only change the contents of the wrapper and make the website work again. So it should not be such a
Yeah.
hard for an update.
Well, I'm not sure if you just switch MySQL by MySQLi will be enough, but
Why not? It's also deprecated.
well, well, in worst case, people won't upgrade, which happened already with PHP 5, and there's a lot of problems. And actually, some people were upset because I mentioned that uh, the fact that people didn't upgrade to PHP 5, it was not definitely totally not my fault, because I was not one that broke PHP compatibility. Just because I mentioned that some people were not upgrading to PHP 5 because when you add some backwards incompatible changes, it would issue warnings. It was already bad enough. People didn't want to see warnings. But in this case, removing features means stop working totally, not just having warnings. But okay, I guess the mankind will have to live with the fact that there will be future versions without past features, and some people upgrade, others don't, and ultimately it will be the problem. So if you are not sure, I think this proposal will pass. The proposal to remove deprecated functionality will pass.
Most probably, because from the perspective of the core
Yeah, because it
developer,
was the intention, right?
uh, but they also would not need to drag the old code to the new versions, and it would make
Yeah.
core developers' life easier. Probably.
And I'm sure this is only part of the backwards incompatible changes. There are more serious deprecations and changes that probably will require you to update your code. And as usual, the problem of having to maintain code that was working just to for the sake of upgrading to a newer PHP version is that it costs money and time. And even if you spend time and money, your code may still have bugs because you changed things that were working before. So, okay, there will be a cost. So now people are warned. And
Well, it's still at least a year till then, probably more.
yeah, but in worst case, it will happen like in PHP 5 that took like 4 years to get serious adoption. Well, that's not a big deal, I think.
That won't stop PHP, right?
No, PHP isn't stoppable. PHP is at the top of the world. If Ruby on Rails did not stop PHP, it won't be uh, uh, this backwards incompatible change. So moving on with other interesting topics still related with PHP 7. Now finally an important announcement. There is a plan for a PHP 7 timeline, which means there are some dates being set on the calendar for possible releases or possible milestones. So as you may see here, there is a milestone 4. Line up any remaining RFCs that target PHP 7 until March 15.
Okay.
March 15 of 2015. I think that's what
Probably.
they mean,
Yeah.
right?
No.
Because
Yeah, it's probably not March 15 as a 15th date, but 15th year. Simply it's somewhere in the March.
yeah, that's what I thought. But then I saw the second milestone, and it says March
Oh, okay.
16.
Yeah,
So
true.
Unless there is a catch here. I'll get back to that catch. Well, the second milestone to be finalized implementation and testing of new features. Release candidate cycle, RC cycle starting June. And then in mid-October, oh, the year, they mentioned the year, 2015, mid-October.
So I wasn't so far off, it's about a year.
Yeah, well, I mean,
It's an optimistic
they should have removed this 2010 year and leave it without a year, because if it delays 1 year, it's still right.
Yeah, true.
And the reason why I say this, and I mentioned there may be a catch, is that there are some ambitious plans for PHP 7 that until now they were not really explicit. They have to do with them, with the things that I'm going to comment ahead. But first, what do you think, Arthur? Do you think this is a feasible milestone, or you have no idea? Because there are things that are still being implemented, and only the developers know how long it will take.
Yeah, exactly. And we saw lots of new features as we were commenting in the previous podcast. I don't know if it would be enough for 3 months to finalize implementations, unless, of course, most of them are already implemented. I don't know in which stage they are, so maybe it's realistic, maybe not.
Yes, that's my concern, because if you think about all these things, since you don't know how much development effort is still remaining, you can only guess, and your guess probably is totally wrong whether it will be enough or not. But at least for people that know about this, in case this proposal, let me see, it was from Seth Soraski from Zen, so he probably knows very well if this is a feasible timeline. So I think it's probably realistic. Now, well, anyway, this is just a proposal. The votes did not start yet, so we have to wait and see. But okay, let's assume that in about 1 year, PHP 7 will be released. They say mid-October, so we are in November. It's about 1 year, and this is fine. But then comes there are new proposals that they were not yet brought up. At least this proposal is for October 14, and then there is started appear new proposals for implementing the so-called transparent Unicode support for PHP 7. And this is what I think it will be the greatest challenge, because this is not a trivial thing. As we know, there were plans for PHP 6 that aimed to bring, at least to some extent, transparent Unicode support, but then we had things start taking too long, and the PHP 4 or 6 plans were cancelled because they realized they were too ambitious, and probably the implementation would not perform very well. But there are now not one but 2 proposals to add some built-in support to Unicode. I mean, not using the MB extension, but using something more integrated in PHP, not as an extension. And the second proposal, well, the first proposal was showing it by Alexei Tulinov. It said he had already a library that is not too complicated. They could share it for use in PHP 7 to implement Unicode, and he mentioned that it would not take too much memory. I think too much memory was a problem of using UTF-16 for representing text, which means that for each character it would take 2 bytes. But this is very complex. This is probably underestimating the whole problem. It's not just a matter of taking more space. And there are many cases we need to distinguish between text and binary. So binary does not get processed as if it is text, and vice versa. Anyway, there is another proposal, in this case by Joe Watkins, called uString. I confess I did not take a look at this whole proposal in great detail because it probably would take me more time than I had. I start looking at this. Arthur, did you take a look at these proposals? What do you think?
Yeah, so the interesting that it proposes a new class to handle uString. So Unicode strings won't be like a string in PHP perspective because a string is not an object, and this one would be, and it provides different APIs to manipulate them. And I don't know, it does not mention much on
the implementation
or performance or what positive things it would provide, only how it would mostly work. And again, that is something that would break the code of using the multi-byte extension as we all used to.
Well,
what I would prefer mostly if there would be a change in handling Unicode in PHP, that it would be an underlying change, leaving the abstract API that we have similar or the same as MB. That would be the best scenario, but probably it won't happen.
Well, from what I understood, this Unicode support being implemented as a class is, I mean, I suppose it is meant to each Unicode string will be an object.
Yeah.
There are people that is requesting that strings be objects since ever, and the main difference regarding when compared to MB string, if I got this right, it's that not only they claim to be faster using uString, but from what I read in the discussions of this topic, they are planning to use overloading, which means that you can represent, for instance, in an expression that manipulates strings, you can combine, for instance, real strings with uString objects, and like you
concatenate them.
For instance, exactly. For instance, now they have overloaded the arbitrary precision math using GMP extension. So there are GMP resources or objects or whatever, and you can combine them with the real numbers. So in the end, you get an object that is a number, and you can use it wherever it takes numbers. In this case, if they implement the overloading, they can have combined strings, and then you would be able to use them in regular uh, functions that take strings. But I'm not sure if this is going to be that transparent. Anyway, this is just a proposal. From what I've seen, many people are already supporting it, so there are great chances for this to pass. And it will not be just like totally transparent use of strings, because there are cases on which you have to distinguish between binary data and strings. So, and sometimes you have to tell that that data is a UTF Unicode string, and Unicode could be UTF-8, UTF-16, or whatever, and it's not the same way to represent text. So at a certain point, you have to have some explicit syntax to tell what is the type of Unicode that you are dealing with. So it will not be so transparent as in language like Java, that you have strings, and strings are strings, not Unicode objects or regular strings like you have in PHP. So this is an important step to finally have some more, I would say, integrated native built-in support to Unicode, but at least it is a progress, and I'm sure some people like it. I don't know if it is much different as to using some classes that already exist, that they resulted from the previous effort to bring Unicode support to PHP 6, like Intel and the other classes. But I think this being called official Unicode support will probably settle people that have been complaining by the lack of Unicode support in PHP for years. That's my expectation. So this is yet another thing being planned for PHP 7. I understand that there is some work already in progress, so this is not something that is just being proposed. I don't know if this is going to delay much the PHP development, because this has to be integrated in everywhere. Some strings are being planned, being used in PHP. So let's wait and see. For now, this is something very new. People are still discussing it. So let's wait and see what comes out from here. Anyway, Artur, what do you think? Is this something that you were hoping or expecting, or maybe you, for your own purposes where you use PHP, you already were using something else and it was solving your problem?
Well, I usually didn't have so much problems with Unicode, but with the proposal, yeah, the one thing that I was afraid of, that it would cause the confusions between string and Unicode objects. But if it would overflow as you describe, and you can concatenate them seamlessly and use
overload, I think you mean.
Overload, sorry. And you would use them in the functions passing as strings, then it should not be a problem.
Yeah. Well,
maybe this step could be taken further and make a string an object.
Yeah. Well, we have to wait and see. But so far, I understood that people that were commenting about the proposals, at least some of them that I checked, they were supporting it. So there are great chances that that's going to be the way it is being proposed. Okay, so great plans for PHP 7. So now we're going to move on this time to another topic. Actually, just mentioning an article that I published here. If I can share the screen. Okay. So the here it's an article. Actually, I wrote it, and it's related to the package PHP OAuth API. And I wrote this article because I've been getting many requests from users of this class to have special ways to access APIs other than the traditional way, which is the user authorizes the access to an API, giving certain permissions, and then you get a token and access the API. In this case, are just different ways to access an API without user interaction. And actually, the first one is the traditional way. So let me comment just briefly what this article is about. 4 ways to access OAuth APIs without user interaction. So the first way is just a regular way, which is basically to get a token. A user authorizes the access to the API, and the class retrieves the token, and you can use it without the user presence. The only detail here is that by default the class uses sessions to store tokens, the tokens that are retrieved. So since sessions only exist when the user is accessing a web page and the session is valid, once the user is not present, the token needs to be retrieved from somebody somewhere else. So it could be a database, but in that case, the token had to be previously stored in somewhere. It could be a database. The package here provides subclasses that implement alternative storage for the tokens, like there is a generic subclass for database access, and then there is another subclass that implements the database access using MySQL, the MySQLi extension. So you can use a MySQL database to store your tokens. And this is the default way to access an API without the user interaction. Another way is related with the fact that some tokens expire. For instance, Google APIs tend to expire tokens after a while, so the tokens need to be refreshed. But fortunately, this class provides a way to refresh tokens automatically as long as the API supplied also a refresh token. So this is all transparent. When you call an API and it checks that the token already expired, and the class transparently will refresh the token, retrieve a newer token that will expire later. So you can continue to access the API without the user interaction. You just need to new token is stored because the old token is no longer valid. So next time you access the API, that token is the new token needs to be used. Now there are a couple of more ways that are not very trivial. One is that some APIs, I'm trying to remember which ones. I think it's Salesforce, but probably I'm not. No, it's not PayPal, but I think there is another one that allows you to, instead of require the user to authorize, you can have your username and password for that API to be used as credentials. So you pass a username and password, and it returns a tokens. So as long as your script has your username and password, it doesn't need to to have the user present. And just a reminder, all this requires OAuth 2, because there is also OAuth 1.0.a that works with a different flow. I don't think this supports this username and password authorization. And finally, there is another way of accessing an API on behalf of your application. So there will be no users involved, no usernames and passwords involved, which is to use just the client credentials, the client ID, and the client secret. So when this type of grant is used, called client credentials, it can access the API, I mean the auth server, to retrieve the token to access the API on behalf of your application, not on behalf of the user. You can perform certain auth, certain API calls that are not bound to a specific user. So these are the 4 ways, and several people have been asking for this because certain APIs require this, and not every OAuth component available out there supports all these modes. And so I thought I should write an article, because every time somebody asks, oh, now I can refer you to this article, and that's it. So this class supports all these modes and tries to make it as transparent as possible, so the users do not need to know so much about the OAuth protocol. Even more because this class abstracts both OAuth and OAuth 1 and OAuth 2 in the same package. So it's just a single class that abstracts everything. It's not easy to understand everything that goes on inside the class, because the OAuth protocol is not trivial, but you don't need to understand it. You just need to follow the documentation, and that's it. Artus, have you been using APIs, accessing APIs using OAuth?
Well, I think many of us are. When you're using, when you're authenticating through Facebook, for example, or Twitter
Exactly.
apps, they are all using it. So yeah, have I been using this as a developer? Then yeah, there have also been instances, and every time I want to dive in and check more about it, I always seem to find the great libraries that implement it, and so I almost never need to like dive deep in it how it's
Good
actually.
for you.
Yeah. So as I understand that's your class, right?
In this case, it's my class, and as I was mentioning, some of these features of types of grants without users and passwords or whatever, it was not something that I needed. It was requested. I implemented it because the users asked it. I studied the protocol. It was not a painless job, but now it is done. And I'm sure I will, although I did not do it for my own purposes, because the APIs that I accessed did not require all these methods, all these types of grants. At least I'm sure I will stumble into an application on which I will need these types of authentication. And there is also an additional complication, is that each API has a slightly different way to deal with the details, the URLs. You need to dig deeply in the documentation. So this class comes with a separate configuration file that comes with the values for each of the server that you want to access, so you don't have to go through the pain of guessing the URLs, because it's granted that you have to go through that pain if you would try to do it all by yourself without a component that does that for you.
Oh, I see. It's like an examples of Amazon, Bitbucket. Great.
Oh,
I
it's
have
lots
a
of,
question.
yeah.
So when I'm authenticating Facebook here, so through another website, so this class handles this website job to authenticate with Facebook. But is there a class that handles the API side of like what Facebook does, authenticates you and gives you the tokens? Can this class handle both situations, or only like a client situation?
I'm not sure what you mean.
Yeah, so there always one user who wants to authenticate using OAuth, and that's this class helps him to do it, right?
Right.
But the server already needs to implement OAuth responses and internal proceed with all the protocols. So this class does both jobs. So I can also host an OAuth server and you use it for other users to authenticate through me.
No, this is just an OAuth client class.
Yeah.
OAuth server class would be a separate thing.
Can you make one?
Okay. Okay. Just because you asked, I did not. There are several other OAuth server classes out there. I did not do one because I did not need one yet. But I'm sure everybody that needs to implement their own API needs to have OAuth server. So it's the other side of the complication.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
I'm sure I will do it sooner or later, and it will be yet another round of great fun.
That's great, because it seems I will soon need one.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But okay, let me take notes. I'm noting down here OAuth server for Harters. Actually, I already had a user that's, oh, that's nice. What about OAuth server class?
I'm not the only one. Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Do you have preference, OAuth 1 or 2?
Better handle both, just in case, you know.
Yeah, it's lots of fun. It's already a pain to deal with the auth one. Dealing with signatures, it's a pain because you need to know what permissions need to be signed or not. But okay. Anyway,
yeah. From my configuration, I see that lots of APIs are still using one first version, right?
Yeah, because it's different. It's not exactly that one auth 2 it's better than auth 1.
Okay.
It's that, for instance, auth 1 requires that exchange parameters being signed. So they were hoping that people could use it without SSL. But nowadays, I don't think you should implement APIs without SSL.
So which one would you suggest to use?
Well, auth 2 is way simpler and implements, I think, more types of authorization flow.
And it's also as secure, probably, as the first one, right?
No, the security layer is SSL. Actually, SSL is dead. Now I remember it's TLS. It's no longer SSL. Now they realize the SSL 3 also is vulnerable, so it's no longer SSL. It's TLS. And well, okay. This is just to mention this article. So now, finally, we're going to move to one regular section. Let's talk about the Innovation Award. As usual, this month we have many packages to talk about, but first I would like to announce an important feature, actually comment, because it was already announced like a week ago. Let me share the screen here. Sharing the screen. For some reason it doesn't want to stay in front. No. it is. So this article is about a package recommendation system that I've been developed for the latest month, and it is very interesting for several reasons. One of them is that actually I had the idea a few years ago, but finally I decided to implement it. But early this
finished what class you had the time, yeah?
yeah, finally it will be like the OAuth server class that we'll implement after a few years. Probably not. Anyway, this feature I had the idea for several years, but early this year I started working on the redesign of the package pages on PHP classes and JS classes, as you may remember. And during the process, I interviewed several people and several users. Particularly, one of them told me that sometimes he did not find a class. Actually, it was dropped into the page of a certain class, but then he realized it was not quite what he wanted. Then he go back to the search page. And then on the search page, you used to search for classes, and many classes appear, or sometimes no class appears, and then he wouldn't know what would be the most recommended package for that purpose. So the idea here is that instead of people trying to figure what is the right package for their purposes from the many of them that exist in the site, is to have a system that can recommend the packages. So the article here is explaining how the system works. There is a video here. I'm not going to play it now. Whoever wants to watch it can watch it later because it takes like 5 minutes or so. So I better show it how it works in practice. So usually you go to the search page. Well, that's the typical way that you use the site. And let's say you search for XML parsers. It's the same example. And then the search page appears, and you look at there are many packages. Oh, which one of these ones is the good one? That's when the site notices that they're looking at the search list, and you are not sure which package you want. And it prompts you with this message. Do you want an advice to choose a package? If you click yes, it takes you to the recommendation, the package recommendation page. So you need to fill this form to tell them a bit more about your needs or purposes, the details of your problems, and then you submit a proposal. And then you go to a page where the proposal is listed. Actually, I'm listing here all the proposals that are up so far. Let's go to take a look to one that, for instance, this one. What is the best PHP QR code generation class? I need PHP code to generate QR code offline. Offline, then the guy explains it. Generate QR code without using web services or otherwise require internet connection. So I can have an image to add to a PDF document. Sounds fair. And then there are several users can propose packages. In this case, there are like 3 proposals, and even there is some discussion because when you propose a package, you can comment, you can add your comments, or you can vote up or down if you like the proposal. And here, for instance, this proposal by Carl Holtz, there is this label here that says he is the package author, which means that he is proposing a package that he developed. He explains what that the functionality that is being requested is actually already integrated in his package. It was imported from another package. and there is some discussion, different users, and then the author can look at these proposals, look at the comments, can look at the ratings of the authors. I mean the reputation here. There is this number here next to this star, and then he knows there are some more recommended packages that he can try instead of getting lost and wasting time around many other packages. In this case, there were 3 proposals. There are not as many proposals usually. This was one of the proposals that were more debated, because when a user submits a proposal, a recommendation request, a notification goes to authors that are subscribed to the keywords that were used here. So they may get notifications, so they are prompted to maybe suggest one of their own packages. So yeah.
Yeah, I got one just for the QR code generation because I had a class that generates it, but unfortunately using web services, so I didn't recommend it, but I got a notification.
Yeah, exactly. As an author, you were prompted, because I believe that as authors that develop packages that already have their classes tagged with certain keywords, it's because those packages are related with those keywords, and so they're probably developers that know well the topics related with those problems. So the idea was to prompt eventual experts, which are authors of classes related with the keywords. In this case, the keyword is QR code generate. So you got that notification. Maybe you don't have a recommendation, but you can recommend some package. And this is great because there will be eventually, for instance, recommendation requests for which there is not yet a class that does that. And that's the part that I can introduce another interesting feature, which is the featured requests. When I see there is no package about a certain topic, I flag it as featured. The moderator of the site, flag it as featured. And then there's a second notification that goes to all authors that are subscribed to get those feature request notifications, that to tell them, oh, there is a potential idea here for an innovative package, because there is no such package for that purpose. And so there are certain packages that can be suggested. And just a reminder, I flagged this particular question as for the PHP QR code generation class as featured, because I didn't find a class that actually could generate QR code natively without a web service, but there was one, so it was my fault. But anyway, there was actually another author, in this case Mike Grubel, that right away liked the idea, and he implemented his own version of a class that implements the QR code. He also did that for another package. In this case, a package to manage MySQL user accounts. And this is interesting because there was really not a package for this purpose. There are several people that debated about this, but Mike Grubel, again, he developed a package for this purpose very quickly. Just in a few days, there is a package for this. So this is the part that ties to the innovation award. So having a recommendation system is great because it can be used to have suggestions for innovation award nominations. This is great because the user that wants to have a package for a purpose that does not exist, you'll get new packages developed by authors that right away develop these packages, and this author will eventually be nominated because it's innovative, the package. So he will eventually earn prizes and recognition for this innovative submission, and the whole site and its community will gain a lot because the more and more innovative packages will be submitted, addressing precisely real-world needs. Because there are certain packages that they are innovative, but they are not such a great demand for them. So I think this is great. Artur, what do you think about the whole system?
Yeah, basically, as you mentioned, it's great both for users and authors. So for users, they can find better packages from lots of existing, or if you flag it as a feature request, get a new packages from authors that solve this problem that haven't been published before. And for authors, it is a really great way to discover ideas for new packages, and not just simple packages, but that will most probably be nominated as an innovative packages.
Yeah,
so it works both ways.
Everybody wins, and more innovative packages will be published, and that's the idea. I still have plans to make some certain things better. Sometimes, for instance, certain keywords are very specific, and no author gets notified to suggest their own package because the keywords were very specific, and maybe I'll try to make matching word by word rather than groups of words. So this eventually will bring more authors to suggest their own packages or contribute more innovative packages. But that's just one of many enhancements that I'm planning. So given this, personally, I'm very happy because this took quite a great effort to be developed, although it was not much time to develop because I had reused lots of existing components of the site, but it was like 2 months of development, and the development still goes on with new features. But it was great because it is getting many people, as you may see, just in a few weeks, because this was made available before it was officially announced. Let me share the screen here again. But I think there are like 30 requests or something. And some packages still have are open. And I think we from now on we are going to comment about at least the feature requests because it's interesting. So let's take a look about the existing feature requests. There is somebody asking for a class to use Redis to store open cart information. I think it's cart items using Redis rather than a regular database. There is also a request for a RESTful web service for registration and login. There are classes for this, but I'm not sure if they provide a RESTful web service interface.
I'm already requesting a package for OAuth server.
Not yet, but maybe somebody will show up sooner or later. And now that you mentioned it, this number in front is the number of recommendations for this package. So these ones that have 0 means no suggestion for this package yet. So chances are that whoever develops a package for this purpose first will be eventually nominated for the Innovation Award. So if you are looking for ideas for innovative packages, now this became easier because we have plenty of suggestions here. The next one, recommendation for PHP class to compare Excel, docx, PDF files. This is quite tricky, but whoever implements this, it will be great. I think the author wants to make a sort of a diff between two Excel or two docx or two PDF files. Well, okay, that's why nobody suggested anything yet. Then there is a recommendation for a PHP class to sync database. There are plenty of classes to sync database, but it's all MySQL. But the requester here asks for something with SQLite and MySQL. That's tricky. And then there's that one about the PHP QR code generation class, which I already talked about. So there are several suggestions, including one that was new. And then there's the other one to manage MySQL user accounts. As I also mentioned, there is already a proposal sent right away. And there's one also difficult one, which is to implement a face matching system. Several people suggested classes that can recognize faces in pictures, but what the requester wanted was not really that. He wants
identify the person by something.
Yeah, just like, for instance, when you go to Facebook, you can have suggestions of the names of people that are in certain pictures. So not only it recognizes the names, there are some faces there, but it also recognizes the faces in the database. So it's not a trivial application. So whoever developed this will be very, very cool. So the suggestions for the feature requests are here. And we also have that in the JS classes. But so far, since JS class is not so popular, we only have like one recommendation so far. Oh, it's from Arthur Sosins. Arthur Sosins is looking for a responsive content slider. And since there is no package that does exactly what Arthur is requesting, it became featured.
Oh, great. That I have really specific requests that I...
Yeah, we've entered many requirements. So yeah, it's going to be hard to implement all of these, but whoever does this first certainly will be nominated to the Innovation Award. So now it's time to actually talk about the nominees for the Innovation Award of JS classes, JS
or PHP. Which one first?
JS classes. First, we talk always of JS classes because it's we just want to open more space for JS classes to be promoted, since it is a much less popular site than PHP classes. So, Arthur, which ones would you like to comment? From August, they were like, wow, 8 nominees, many nominees.
Let me try to share the screen, if Google allows it.
Yeah, we have to beg. Please, Google. Please, Mr. Google, let me share the screen.
Something like that. So, I don't know, do you see anything? Oh, no.
Okay.
The first one I wanted to mention is
Yeah.
It's actually an
Just
interesting name.
if you can zoom it,
Because
this.
it's okay. Let me try to zoom it. Better? More? Less?
No, it's fine.
Okay. So it's an interesting name. It's a jQuery FSM, animate page elements using finite state machines. It's actually not so complex as it sounds because, well, usually when you have an animations, you like define a movie clip probably or some timeline of the images, and there are different animations like running, jumping, and so you are just looping in one animation, then jump to another, and this one implements it in easier way to, probably there should be an example, to define states, and from which state animation can travel to the next state. So yeah, it's interesting solution. And it's what it does. It implements the. It seems that it's mostly jQuery animations, like fading and slide down and stuff like that. And this class was developed by Emmanuel Podwin from France, and he chose one book of choice by Pact for that. Yeah, so it was also a winner. Great. So yeah, so that's one of the ones I liked. The other one that you would call probably somehow this in PHP podcast it was a bad thing, right? Node.js
No,
or something like that.
no, it's not the
Yeah,
podcast,
there's
it's
going.
the scope.
Okay. So yeah, that's this class implements Node.js background jobs that allows running background jobs using Node.js models. And it was developed by Thomas Björk from Sweden. I don't know if he got something from. No, he did not request any price. Yeah, but basically what it does, it generates a process on Node.js server, and you can connect to it through UDP or TCP and like execute and retrieve information from that. So it's like a parallel process to start as it's parallel of your server.
So now my turn. On my behalf, I'd like to also talk about a few classes. Let's start from this one. The first one that I want to comment is also from Thomas Björk, a great contributor. He has been sending some very nice objects. I don't know if you can. I think we can't call them classes yet. Only ECMAScript 6. But so for now, this is an object that happens to be a jQuery plugin that can load an image and use it as a favorite icon for a page. And this is interesting because you can do many things, many interesting things. I don't know if it is this page. No, it's not this object, but well, I'm not sure where I see it. No, actually, it's this object. It can load multiple images to create favicon animations. Mm-hmm. So it can create a nice effect you can see on your. Well, I cannot see it here because there is no example, but I mean no demo, but actually no demo and no example, but it would be interesting to show the animation happening in the bar. So another package that I wanted to comment is one that is complementary to the other one that you mentioned from David Castillo. So he sent two packages. You mentioned one, I'm mentioning the other. It uses the Google Maps API to get the distance metrics to many locations, because I think, yes, that's right. There is a limit of 25 locations that you can request for API API call. So he implemented a workaround that lets you get the distance metrics for many more locations. And this is great because you can compute routes that involve much more locations than this limit. So kudos to David Castillo for his package. Now, regarding the Innovation Award of ranking of 2014, so far we have Thomas Bjork, that we mentioned, is ahead with 4 packages and 15 points. Then followed David Castillo, we just talked about him too, with 2 packages and 13 points. Pierre Folk with 2 packages and 10 points. Then Andritz Marmalejo is tied with also 2 packages and 10 points. And then Emmanuel Podvan with 1 package and 8 points. Jimmy Bo with 3 packages and 7 points. And then several authors with 1 package and 5 points. So, despite the JavaScript Innovation Award is not as not as many authors competing, it still is getting also very exciting, as you may see. Now, by country, you can see that France is ahead, thanks not only to contributions by Pierre Folk, but there are others like Emmanuel Podvan that are contributing to have 4 packages and 19 points and so far be ahead. And it is followed by Sweden with 4 packages and 15 points, all of them from Thomas Bjork. And then Mexico with 2 packages and 13 points from David Castillo. And then Spain with 3 packages and 12 points, several authors. And then Italy with 3 packages and 8 points. Canada with 3 packages and 7 points. India 2 packages and 6 points. And then several other countries with only 1 package and less points. So now we are going back to the Innovation Award of the PHP classes. Arthur, which ones packages would you like to comment?
Let me share the screen again. Yes, so the first package I would like to comment is quite an interesting one, which converts MySQL database to Mongo collections in Mongo database. It's an interesting class because it's not so easy to do job.
Can you show up the package page?
Yeah, sure. Let me find it where it was. Yeah. So it's package called PHP MySQL to Mongo, and it was developed by Oratio Principe. Sorry, I'm bad at reading other names. He's from Italy. And yeah, so as I said, it's really not maybe so trivial. I don't know how well he does it, but the underlying scheme is usually quite different. And he says he not only converts the database, but also recreates the records that you inserted and indexes. So it's quite great for the websites that want to transfer from SQL to NoSQL databases due to maybe, I don't know, too much load on the server and for faster reads and writes. So yeah, this one is great, and he got PHP Storm IDE license and was the winner of the Innovation Award, so kudos to him. And the next one I wanted to comment is also not a trivial task. It's a PHP zip merge by Asbjørn Grand from Denmark. And what the class does, it takes two zip archives together and without archiving them, merges them. And it can be quite a complex task, and as you see from the code, he made it as simple as append zip and append zip, and so kudos to him too. we got one of Zen Studio for that package. Okay, I think
Well,
that's it.
yeah. Well, on my behalf, I also would like to comment a few packages. Um, okay, starting from this one, PHP altcoin Bitcoin Explorer, which is basically a class that can access a Bitcoin server. I'm not sure if this is the accurate uh, um, name to
Probably.
call it, or maybe a peer, Bitcoin peer, to get to perform several operations to manipulate Bitcoin currency. So this is an interesting package. Uh, it's called PHP Altcoin Bitcoin Explorer, and this is by Lucas Meston from Slovak Republic. And for that, he did not yet pick a price, but it's never ever too late. Okay, the next one that I wanted to comment is PHP file array from Toby Tops from Nigeria. This basically is a class that implements the array access interface. So you can access elements in this array, except that the actual values are stored in files. So this is an interesting solution to implement virtual arrays that are stored in files. Now let's comment finally about the Innovation Award winners of 2014. First by author individually. So Kioan, now representing France, is ahead with 7 packages and 38 points. He's in pretty good shape to win the Innovation Award until the end of the year, but there are still chances for others to win. And is followed by Horacio Prince with 3 packages and 24 points, and with Jordan Malaysia from Spain with 3 packages and 16 points. Rashak Chauhan from India with 2 packages, 14 points. Then Ashbourne Grant with 2 packages with 12 points, and then several other authors with just 1 package. By country, we can see now that United States is in front with 6 packages and 46 points, but it is tied with Italy. So this by country, the competition is very tight. Italy has 7 points in 7 packages in 46 points. And then it is followed by Iran with 5 packages in 43 points, France with 9 packages in 41 points, Brazil with 6 packages in 29 points, Spain with 27 points and 6 packages, Russia with 3 packages and 23 points, India with 3 packages and 16 points, United Kingdom with 2 packages and 14 points, Denmark with 2 packages and 12 points. So the competition is by country is still to be decided, and this is very, very interesting to see many authors, not just one, like in some cases, but many authors are participating to win by country. Arthur, have you been following this? What do you think about this very tight competition, at least by author?
Yeah, well, I think at least by author, no. I want to comment on
I
country.
mean, by country, exactly.
So, as you see from the table, if, for example, Iran now submits one package that earns them more than 3 points, they would lead, and even if it earns them exactly 3 points, that would be tied between 3 countries, but I think the amount of packages also count, right? So with the country, if there are same amounts, then country with least packages wins, or how would it be?
Yeah, I guess a tie is a tie. It's by points.
Oh, okay. Then it's even more interesting.
I hope
Okay,
there is not a tie, because that means I'll have to send many, many elephants as prize to. Well, in worst case, they have to wait for the next batch of elephants to be produced.
I think there could be maximal of 4 tie teams, but let's see how it happens.
Yeah, well, chances are that in the end somebody prevails, because
All it
it's
takes is one package.
not. It's not. There are 4 countries with more than 40 points, and chances are that things will get a bit unbalanced to one country or the other, because there are countries that have been sending many more packages after that. Well, if you look at the current nominees, for instance, I mean, from October, and we still have November and December. We still have 3 months to count. We have one from Iran, another for Germany, another from Argentina, another for Ukraine, Serbia, Italy, France, another from Germany, another from France. Well, France and Germany have great chances to stand out, because they have more competitors this month, but there is also a competitor from Italy, and this is going to be a very tight competition. And all this is great, because many innovative packages have been sent to the site, and everybody is winning, participating. Not only is the value, the interest of the novelty package, but developers are having fun, I think. What do you think? Are they having fun or not?
Yeah, it seems so, and we have more and more packages to comment each month.
Yeah. Well, we have a lot more trouble, effort to comment them, but personally I don't mind. It just takes more time, and I hope we did not lose people watching to this hangout. So basically, with this, we have practically ended this podcast for this month. It was quite long, but I think it was worth it. Many interesting topics that we comment. So on my behalf, it is all for now. Bye.
Bye.